I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you.
What's up, everybody? I'm Fool.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Main One, and we're Unplugged Free Your Mind, a show where we discuss an array of topics, current events, and world news from an unfiltered, unbiased, and unplugged point of view. Hey, happy Monday, guys.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Hey, another episode number 7. Thank you guys for tuning in, viewing with us. What's going on? How this weekend treat y'all?
Weekend was good. I didn't do much. I was relaxing.
I was booed up like Jay.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Here we go. This is the continuation from Saturday, right?
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
I had to do that. It was too wide open. But yeah. I mean, basically for me, I love every other weekend because every other weekend I am booed up. So I utilize that and I appreciate it. So I know she's listening. So Dan, if you listening, yes, I appreciate every other weekend and any other extra time that we have. So what I will say is we went out to Rashida and Kirk's restaurant here in Atlanta.
Okay.
Cross Bistro or whatever. I will say the food was good. I got no complaints. They sat us by the door. The hawk was real. It was cold as a motherfucker, that bitch. Like, because they kept opening up the door, and it was Saturday, so it was cold. And every time they open the door, it would hit you. Now, Jay probably knows better than Jermaine because I told him about this. Jay, you've eaten blue crabs before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know how you eat the crabs and then you wait until the end to eat the big legs and then you finish, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what they did at this restaurant on some real live slick shit. You know how you'll break the big leg? I'm talking about blue crabs, not crab legs.
Yeah, you're talking about the flat kind, the blue crabs. I know what you're talking about.
So you know how you'll get the big leg and you crack it and you got you got the claw part?
Yes.
They pretty much took the shell off of the meat and was calling that crab handles or something like that. It gave you like $8 or $9, $18. Yo, I'm not mad. When I say I'm not mad, but I said these are some innovative motherfuckers because they use the crab from the rooter to the tutor because for them to charge, it was that much meat. So you got the claw, you dip it in the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They got that. It was good. It was good. I never do it again. Don't get it twisted. I never do that shit again.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm impressed because it's a good way. If you're gonna get a crab, you utilize every bit of meat that you can get. So for them to come up with that, it was brilliant. But I was like, yo, $18? Okay. Wow. I don't know what I was expecting. I'm from Jersey. I'm expecting, the crab sticks or something like that when they said it. I was not expecting that, but like I said, it was all good. It was all, and the food definitely was good.
Okay, that's what's up.
Good. What you get into this weekend, Jermaine?
We won the championship. We had basketball this weekend.
Oh yeah, congratulations!
We won the championships. We are champions of the world, and man, I always knew. I know I'm competitive, and I want my kid to be the best and all this kind of stuff too. But after the game, some of the parents were like going crazy because they were like, "Oh, the ref cheated," and come on, grabbing their kid and not showing the sportsmanship. And it's like, yo, this is not the example we supposed to be setting. I mean, I understand you want to win, but guess what? These refs ain't getting paid. They on their own free dime, refereeing, this little league or whatever. And I mean, this one dude, I was like, yo, it's really not that serious. I mean, I want to win just as bad as everybody else, but it's not as serious as some of those parents were acting. But nevertheless, we had to pull our kids to the side, tell them, hey, sports is about wins and losses. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And, we just happened to win the championship. So was happy about that. And so that's how the weekend started. And here we are on Monday.
I got two questions before we move on from this basketball game.
Yeah.
First question, how much did y'all win by?
We actually won by like 3 or 4 points because we came back. We were down like 5 points with like 2 minutes left. And we actually, the kids fought back and came back and got into the game and won.
Okay. So y'all won by like 3 or 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
With the way that the parents was bitching, with you being impartial,
mm-hmm.
could some of those calls have cost y'all the game?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, so we good. We could go ahead and move on. That means, Jermaine paid them off. He paid off the rest. It's all good. They won. So it's all good. It's no problems.
You set me up with that one. You set me up with that one. That was good.
It's interesting because you wasn't so sure a few weeks ago. You was a bit apprehensive yourself.
Yo, we was on a 3-game loser streak. I was questioning my ability at one point. I was like, man, is it me or is it them? Yeah. But so I guess at this point we're gonna transition to our current event portion of our show. We call it Ear to the Streets, where we discuss current events, a couple of current event topics that were hot on the news this week. So I'll send it over to you, Jay. What you got this week in current events?
A couple of things that I wanted to take a look at. First of all, I don't know if y'all know this, but yesterday was the day that everyone was reflecting. February 21st was the day that they assassinated Malcolm X. And what's going on with that right now? Because I kept hearing mixed things because, Netflix has their, Who Killed Malcolm X, that series. I've actually already watched it a couple of times myself. And I remember in it, I don't know if it was the series that the person's name is mentioned, but there was a cop's name that was mentioned. And he recently, he wrote a book and he actually pretty much said something that had me thinking. Well, I think everybody somewhere or another, the FBI and the, in the NYPD, they were kind of in cahoots or whatever to pretty much intimidate Malcolm X and they were the reason and the cause for what had happened to him. Well, what I found out is this guy on his deathbed told his cousin, when I'm gone, put this out there. It is true. All of this is true. It was a combination of the NYPD and the FBI.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. And I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I had the article I was looking at because I want to reference the article. The book was just released too, if I'm not mistaken, last year. And it's kind of like, I don't know, did the series come out last year or the year before, 2019?
You talking about the Who Killed Malcolm X on Netflix?
Was that a 2020 thing?
I think it was last year because you gotta understand, I'm from Newark. Yeah. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is some bullshit. And I have a friend of mine, one of my best friends. He knows the guy. Like, cause that guy was around like basketball leagues and shit like that. And the first thing he said was, it's some bullshit that our parents didn't tell us who he was because he'd be dead. Because it was like, he wasn't the only person that said that. I heard other people say the same thing. Like, yo, this some bullshit. They knew who did it and they didn't do anything about it. That's what got fucked up.
Yeah. And his name is Ray Wood. He was serving as a undercover police officer. The day that, he actually wrote a letter and he admitted to it, saying that, he felt bad. Like in hindsight, he had a hand in what happened to Malcolm X, ultimately his demise. And it's funny because I was watching, and I don't want to mess his name up, Kaba Kamina. Yeah. He went live on Instagram over the weekend, and he was talking about the Judas. Mm-hmm. And he was referencing, Judas and the Black Messiah. And then, he was also referencing this guy, as a Judas. And it's so crazy because now, y'all, they're going to open this case up again. at some point now, will something happen? Different story for a different day. But they're saying that they're going to reopen this case, and it's going to be a different investigation. They're going to look into all the people associated with it, including, I think it was like 2 or 3 dudes from the Nation of Islam that was put in jail for it. But again, what happens, what they say and what happens is always 2 different things. But I would be one of those people that would follow this. I really would.
Right. Okay.
But see, my issue is, once again, it's about after the fact. They admitted to killing Dr. King. Like that, they went to court for that shit. They admitted that one. We know the Fred Hampton shit. Now we got the Malcolm X shit. And it's like when it comes to the powers that be, when it comes to them murdering our people, it's always this. And keep it moving.
Yeah.
That's it. Like that's where the bullshit to me needs to stop, because it's like, okay, you're going to investigate it. How many years later? None of us were born.
Years and years and years and years. And the part that I think that got to me was the fact that he literally he trusted one person with this secret. One person, which was, I think, his cousin or whatever. And he said, you cannot say anything until he died, and he just recently passed. And that's when all of this kind of came out. So So anyway, that was one thing that I seen in the news on the weekend. And another thing that I seen that I thought was real interesting. Did y'all know that recently Stevie Wonder, my idol, of course, had mentioned that once he get himself together, he's moving to Ghana, like permanently.
What do you mean get himself together? What does that mean?
Pretty much when he goes into retirement, a full retirement, which is not going to be probably anytime soon, I don't think. I mean, he's only 70 years old right now.
Yo, did you just hear what you just said?
No. He cannot retire right now because I need to be able to see Stevie when he retires. So Stevie, please wait. But he seriously sat down with Oprah and he said that, once everything comes together and he moves his things over to what he referenced as the motherland, that it's going to be a permanent move. And that's where he's going to be. So maybe I'm hoping first of all, his sound, his style, his history, just Stevie, the genius, I doubt if he stop anything anytime soon. He's just way too good.
Yeah, but I mean,
they announced it on the radio the other day. Do you know how many records Stevie Wonder has sold, bro?
Have you ever sat and listened to his albums in the order in which they was released?
To be honest, and I know this is not going to be popular.
Careful.
I wasn't really on Stevie like that.
It's funny because I used to not be. I mean, a few songs here and there, but
I heard very superstitious and some of the other songs, but I wasn't really I didn't really delve into Stevie. Maybe I need to do that. I
clearly remember a Sunday when I was sitting out when I was working at BB King's downtown. And me and some bandmates of mine, right before the show, we'd sit and have some food and just talk like what we did through the weekend. And it was one of my best good friends, one of the baddest rhythm guitar players. His name is Will. He told me, he was like, you know what, Jay, you need to sit down, start with the first album, and just listen to it in the order in which he released these albums. Like, listen to each song. I decided to do that. It wasn't immediate when I did it. It was probably after I got Amazon Music and, I could have access to all of his albums at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it was just, I do it now sometimes where I'm just hot on one album. The Songs and the Keys of Life is just one that if you have not sat back and listened to that one, it's just genius. It's just genius. But it's going to be kind of sad if he decides to leave the U.S. permanently,
And that man has sold over 100 million records. If you go look, his Grammys, Stevie, and the crazy thing about it is, they don't talk about it a lot. Stevie Wonder been around for a long ass. Stevie Wonder, I think, if he's 70, he's been performing for 60 years, I think. Some shit like that. 6 decades. Yeah. Some
12 or 13.
But wow. But once again, nobody mentions that because people always talk about Prince, they talk about Michael Jackson, they always talk about these other names. Stevie Wonder in the industry is respected, But when it comes to like people talking about greats, they never mention him. It's like they overlook him, yo, for real.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you don't hear him as much mainstream, I think, but he's one of those behind the scenes dude that plays just about every single instrument, you name it, he played. I think that's why they dubbed him the genius. I also watched that documentary over the weekend, Hitsville, the documentary, and they talk a lot about little Stevie, and yeah, I still say it's just gonna be sad, but Lord, please, Stevie, don't retire anytime soon, because I've got to catch him in concert at least once. I hear it's a real experience.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I got a few other things, but as fillers, but those two things were the two major things I was just kind of like, wow, that's mind blowing.
You got another? We got time for another one, or is our guest ready?
I mean, yeah, he's ready. He's ready.
Okay.
And I already, I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on. I'm going to let you introduce him.
Okay. All right. So, without further ado, we're gonna bring our guest in. I've had the pleasure of knowing this guy for 20 plus years. I consider him one of my best friends. He's definitely a great friend of mine. I've gotten advice from him over the years. He was doing my taxes at one point. Over 20 years in the profession, very professional. Always willing to help as a business owner. I always look to him because he's always reaching back, and trying to help other businesses, try to get their stuff together. So, I always, admired him for that. He's, one of the reasons why I started my own business, because he stepped out on faith and created his own lane. So, without further ado, a good friend of mine, digital taxes owner, Darcel Walker.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey,
just doing the COVID-19 thing safe, don't know what kind of thing coming over the airway.
Man, take that mask off.
I was about to ask when you said
How's everybody doing?
Man, we good.
Hey, it's nice meeting all y'all. Well, nice meeting you. How do you pronounce your name?
Fuquan, but we just call him Fu. That's one of my good friends from Atlanta, man. I've been knowing him for less than 5 years, but it seems like I know him just as long as I know you. So, we're really good friends. And of course, Jay. So
yes. How you doing, Lady J?
Great. How are you, Darcel?
Good seeing you again.
Yeah. Here. So, man, I'm glad you were able to come on and had this conversation with us, man. Because me and you, we talk about taxes and stuff all the time, off air. But so just give the audience who don't know you just a brief synopsis of your background, who you are, your background, and stuff like that, so they can get to know you.
I'm Darcel Walker. I'm the owner of Digital Tax. I've been in the tax business since 2002. And I used to work for one of my former competitors. I used to be their marketing director, actually. So during that time frame, I had to take a step back out of taxes, but I always maintained clients. And as Jermaine was saying, I sort of took a step out there on faith and decided to give myself a try rather than going the corporate world, doing that thing, the corporate thing. So Digital Tax has been in being since 2015. It's been going strong. I've been building my base, and it's been great. My whole thing is I'm never going back. So whatever I got to do to stay out of that corporate life or that W-2 thing, I'm never going back. So I enjoy it. I love it. I'm ready for it to blossom some more. And Digital Tax is just really out there to help folks. I can do taxes all throughout the United States. My furthest client is my aunt. She's in Afghanistan. She texts or emails me her stuff, and that's how I can do her taxes. So if I can do hers all the way in Afghanistan, I can do yours anywhere throughout the United States. Digital taxes get your taxes done professionally without the office visit.
Darcel, if you don't mind me asking, how are you on the show? Because it seems like when you talk, it's some kind of background noise.
I don't have any.
Do y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that when he's talking?
I I don't hear it now.
Yeah, I mean, I was only asking because it seemed like when you were talking, I don't know if it's like something up with the mic or something. That's why I wanted to make sure everybody heard you clearly. That's all.
Yeah, I got you. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it does sound a little staticky, but you know, I think it may be the acoustics in his room. That may be what's causing it. Where he's at.
Sorry about that, crowd.
That's all right.
Oh wow! See, now that's cleared.
Yeah, that's clear.
I pulled the computer a little bit closer to me.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, man. So I think we just I think you kind of gave us a great synopsis of what you do and you know, your background and everything. So I think we'll just start with some. I think Jay had some questions for you that y'all, I think she said y'all talked about a little bit already. So I'll let her go ahead and
yeah. I mean, yeah, I've been kind of monitoring, you know, what's going on as far as the stimulus, you know, how this is going to work with the second and third stimulus, and then, you know, I've been looking at too whether or not if they're going to extend the tax day. Now, currently, from what I read, and I sent you the article what I was reading that said the Ways and Means Committee took it to the House and said, hey, you guys should extend it. Do you think that's going to happen? And if you think it is going to happen, what are the pros and the cons of that? Because that's what that article was about. It was just too confusing for me. It was too tax talk. So I couldn't wait to talk to you.
I got you. Well, with that, it's a May thing right now. You know, as you were saying, it was taken to the Ways and Means Commission, and it may happen. And what that means is that, if anything, they're going to give you more time to file. So based on like last year, they extended the tax filing deadline past April 15th. And what that means is that you just have more time to file your taxes, but not pay. So just keep that in mind. So if you owed the IRS, you would have to get that tax return done by that extension deadline. So in last year's case, they moved it to July 15th. And what that meant is that you had more time to get your taxes together, but if you owed, you needed to pay that bill by July 15th, or penalties and interest would start to accrue after that.
Okay. I got you. That actually makes a lot of sense. And so what does that mean for the stimulus as far as the second and third? Because this is what I was telling Jermaine earlier. So I had not, you know, when I got my W-2, I hadn't gotten the stimulus or whatever. A lot of people that I know hadn't gotten it. And when I got my W-2, most times I'll go ahead and start filling out, you know, my form and everything, but I don't file it until like a little bit before. And what I noticed was even before I put in my W-2, I had a credit there already. So I wanted to know, what did that credit mean in terms of the stimulus? Like, you know, should I wait, or should I just go ahead and file before, you know, I actually get the stimulus, if I get it?
You should go ahead and file as soon as possible. What that credit meant is that since you never did receive your stimulus payment, you're going to receive it now on your tax return, on your 2020 tax return. So if you never received the first $1,200, and I'm just taking this as the person is a single individual. If you didn't receive the $1,200 and the $600, well, now you're going to go ahead and, when you file, you're going to go ahead and get credit for that $1,800 on your tax return. So a good thing about that is that if someone owed this year and they never did receive their stimulus payment, let's say they owed $500 and they never received the $1,800 stimulus, well, then that means they would get their $1,300 refund. So they're getting credit for their stimulus payment when they file their 2020 tax return.
What if they also get the payment after the fact? That taxable at this point in 2022 for 2020?
So
yeah, I need to know the loopholes here. I'm looking for the loopholes.
I got you. So I actually contacted IRS about that last week, matter of fact. And one of my clients, she had filed because she never did get her stimulus payment, right? Well, after I filed the tax return, she got credit for the $600. Well, since they sent her the check, actually last week, what the IRS agent told me is that the computer will take that $600 payment off her tax return because she had already received it. She had already received the check late. So to give you an example, if her tax refund prior to the stimulus was $700, well then once the IRS does their little checks and everything, she would only get a refund for $100. So the system is supposed to automatically update and then take care of that problem right there.
Is that being accounted for in like the different tax softwares? There is like personally, I use TaxSlayer, but you know, there's your TurboTax and H&R Block tax software. Is that something that's already accounted for, like in the software, or is that something that happens at the point of which you file and then the IRS does its whatever reconciliation saying, okay, no, the software said that this is your refund, but because you were issued this, the check or whatever, you got your stimulus, this is the amount. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so I'm saying exactly that. So when you file your tax return through either of those software companies, what happens is they don't know the check has already been issued to you, right? So only you would know that. But if you filed before you actually received the check, then what will happen is the IRS, once again, in air quotes here, is supposed to automatically reconcile your account. So in the example that I gave you, she was supposed to be receiving $700, but when the refund actually comes out, which is, I guess, pretty soon here now, they're going to automatically take that $600 away from her. She's only going to get $100. Yeah.
Okay, so now that makes perfect sense. Because I'm like, all right, they mess around and, you know, they issue you the credit for the stimulus and then you actually get it. You know, are they going to automatically take it out and say, hey, you owe us later this year?
I got you. But if things do happen, because, you know, this is somewhat complicated, you know, you already received your $600. And going back to the example, in her case, she already received her $600, right?
Right.
She was supposed to be getting a refund of $700. Now, if she gets the $600 check, she didn't cash the check, and they deposit $700 in her account, she needs to send that darn $600 back because they're going to get their money.
Maybe not this year. Maybe not this year. Maybe not next year, but they're going to catch up.
That's right. They're going to get their money.
Now, with what you're mentioning about the stimulus and everything, how does that play a factor for somebody who's self-employed who usually don't get a return?
Well, what that would do then, that's a good question. What that would do then is if they didn't get their stimulus payment, that would reduce their tax liability. So to give you an example, go ahead.
No, I'm saying if they got their stimulus, if they got it, what's the difference for somebody who's self-employed who usually don't pay any taxes at the end of the year? They don't get a return. They don't pay anything.
Well, in my experience, it doesn't normally happen like that. And the reason being is because a 100% self-employed person, they're going to pay self-employment tax. It doesn't matter if you earn $100. You're going to, or $1,000, you're going to owe self-employment tax. Now, you may not actually pay it because you may get earned income credit. So let me give you a better example. If you earn $10,000, if your net profit was $10,000 as a self-employed person, you're going to owe the IRS at least $1,500. And the reason being is because you're not paying tax if you're self-employed. You're not going to pay tax not unless you pay estimated tax, which is totally different. So a self-employed person, no matter what their income is, their net profit, this is their net profit. They're not taking a loss. This is their net profit. If they show a profit, they're going to pay tax on that. And what would happen in that case, let's go back to my example, $10,000, you're going to owe $1,500. And you're going to owe that $1,500 because you got to pay Medicare and Social Security. That's how you pay your Medicare and your Social Security tax. So you're going to owe $1,500. If you never got your stimulus payment, well then that would total $1,800. So since you're in the positive $1,800 and you owe the IRS $1,500, you should get a refund of $300. So to answer your question, what would happen for them is if they owed any taxes and they never got their stimulus payment, the stimulus payment would subtract off of the taxes that they owed to the IRS for 2020. That's what that would work.
Okay.
To me, this shit sound like a hustle.
Taxman will one way or the other.
Yo, hey. He know how I feel. You know, we had conversations about this, and you know, I've been reading up on you know, I've always been reading up on the 16th Amendment is kind of where this tax stuff it lays in, and it's kind of worded kind of messed up because initially it was they were taxing off of investments and profits, investments and revenue. And then they added the wages in that when they ratified it, which is kind of bull crap to me, because we have other nations that don't pay income, that don't make their population pay income tax. So what does your federal income tax, what does that go to? I know where the state goes to. I know we pay property tax, sale tax, state tax, but where does our federal income tax, where does that money go? Because I think a lot of people want to know exactly where is this money that they taking from me, that they want from me every damn paycheck, where is it going?
All the damn federal programs that you hear about, it goes there. It goes to our military. It goes to foreign countries. You know, it goes to a bunch of different projects. And, you know, you hear about the thing that went out there, the winter storm that went out there in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, from my understanding, and I didn't know this, you know, I mean, hell, I didn't know it. I'm fine in saying that. From what I understand, Texas, you know, they were responsible for their own energy and things like that. So the state was taking care of that. Well, since they didn't have those state backups and all that stuff happened, well, now when you have the federally declared disaster areas, that's where the tax money is going to as well. You know, so not only do you have the welfare programs and you have the programs that are going out of state, such as the defense and things like that, you know, this is what we use to pay our military too as well. You know, this is what we use to pay the congressmen, the president, and all them too as well. So you got to figure, you know, every time you turn around, you're paying some sort of tax, and that tax may be going towards the federal, it may be going towards local, it may be going towards the state. So that's where you're different, you know, like sales tax, like in what you do, you know, you're paying that to the state.
Right.
But see, when you're an employee, you pay half of the Medicare and Social Security tax, right? Well, there's also a federal unemployment tax too that all the employers pay for individual employees too. So the money is going in all different places, man. So anytime you hear federal, then that's where your tax dollars are going. Federal tax dollars.
Well, so that also means it's going to the Federal Reserve then.
I can't answer 100%.
Technically, no, since that's not. We both know since that ain't the federal, since it's not a federal.
Right.
Right.
But most people, when they hear, like he just said, when they hear federal, they automatically assume that. You know, I wrote this down. I'm glad, appreciate that answer on that question. I wrote this down. I said, so basically, taxes are a monthly subscription to live in the country and use its facilities. And childhood was a 15-year trial. So until you get a job, you're on trial period. You're using the facilities, you're using everything else. Once you hit adulthood, that's your monthly subscription, like Netflix and Hulu and everything else. That's taxes.
You gotta pay to stay.
Pay the damn stay. Ain't that some shit?
You got to pay to stay, son.
But now Texas doesn't have income tax. It's like a few states that don't have it. So how is it that they can pull from
They have federal income tax. They don't have a state tax.
State tax, okay.
Yeah, that's correct. And there's
they pull out of something they're not putting into.
Say that again.
How would they be able to pull out of something, out of the federal whatever, if they're not putting something into it? But you're saying that they do.
They do, yeah. They're paying federal taxes. That's correct. So they're paying federal. They're just not paying state taxes, and the state is making it up through, the land taxes, sale taxes, county taxes. That's how they're making it up. So they may be a little bit more expensive there because they're not, the person is not paying the federal taxes. But either way, they're gonna get that money.
Yeah, it's the tax. Yeah, it's tax.
They're gonna get that money.
So, how does it work? How does it work with people who got those the PPP loans or the SBA loan and everything like that? Does that play into this year if they got it?
Yeah, actually, they're doing some programs there for the small businesses. Because if you were following that kind of stuff, and I was not a victim, but I was a part of that. I must admit, from my own perspective, when I filed, and I was right there on time because I knew what was going on. So I was filing my paperwork first, and I wasn't in that first funding. I wasn't. So with the PPP and it's called the EIDL. The EIDL is through the SBA. The PPP, you have to file through your bank, and you have to be self-employed in order to, be a part of that. They're doing that right now. So they're doing a second funding for those that have received the first funding. And if you never did receive the first funding, you can go ahead and file for that. But the most, I think the better of the two options is really the EIDL, and that's coming through the SBA because they're offering grants. And that grant, the first time was only $1,000 per employee, but they didn't really specify that when the program first came out. They originally said, hey, everybody's going to get $10,000. But then they put the disclaimer on it that it was based on the number of employees that you had. So now if you never did receive your $10,000, now what they're doing is they're doing a targeting EIDL, and it's for people who are in economic disadvantage area. And that's based on your zip code that you use when you filed for the EIDL benefits. And if they send you an email, which it's kind of strange because you got to be looking through your email. If they send you an email, then they're letting you know, hey, you're a participant and you can apply for this extra $9,000 or the extra $10,000 that you never did get. And it's totally a grant.
Okay.
And just for those of us who we're not really sure, when you say a grant, does that mean you've got to pay the money back at some point, or is it really like a credit to help you out, like a,
Yeah, it's truly a grant, in meaning that no, you don't have to pay that back. So if you, once again, the disclaimer is that you use the money for the purposes that it was meant to be used for, and that's either your payroll, your rent, your utilities, and they added a few other. 2 other or 3 other options too as well. But for the most part, people who use it for payroll, and payroll means even if you're a one-person company, that's payroll to yourself. Okay. Utilities is self-explanatory. Rent or mortgage, that's self-explanatory too as well.
That's not bad.
No, it's not. It's not. So I'm still looking for my email. They hadn't sent it to me. So if you hadn't received yours, don't be concerned yet.
I ain't got mine either. Where would it be coming from?
It'll be coming from the SBA. And from what I understand, they're sending out the emails now, between now and July 31st.
That also implies that at some point you've submitted an application somewhere.
Exactly. You had to have submitted last year in order to be a part of this funding right now. So if you never heard back from them, or if they denied you, or if you did receive the $1,000, then there's still hope that you may get it. The strange thing is, it's a little convoluted in that, you know, what does this economic disadvantage area mean, right?
Yeah, what does it mean?
You have to be below a certain poverty level, and you have to use.
Oh.
Yeah, you have to use. Your area has to be below. No, yeah, below a certain poverty level. So once again, they didn't provide you the means of finding out. Hey, am I in this area or what? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you sort of have to dig for that information, and that right there, I didn't really like that part of it. So you're just sitting.
Why
You're
not?
just because you're sitting waiting on them. All you hear is that they're giving out this grant money, and you're trying to figure out, well, am I going to be a recipient of it?
Right.
You know, why haven't I received my email? So that's why I didn't really like that part of it. So they're going to invite you, or they're going to send you an email saying that, hey, you can apply for this extra $9,000 or 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question. I appreciate that.
And what so there's a lot of people out here that they do their own taxes, nothing against anybody that does, and they don't go to someone who's an expert like you. In your past experience, what have you had to deal with some of the stuff that you've seen from people doing their own shit, and when they know damn well they should have went to a CPA?
A lot of it, I see confusion, because if they're normally used to getting a certain amount and then they don't get that amount, they're like, well, you know, it might be something I did wrong. Some of it could be straight up fraud. You know, they get audited. They don't understand what's going on. They feel like, hey, yeah, I may have done something wrong, but I still should have got something back. I see a lot of that. You know, they could totally just miss a tax deduction, even though the software programs, I mean, I'm coming from a software company. They try to do a good job of asking a lot of questions and things of that nature. But the way I look at my service is that, yeah, anybody can change your oil. You know what I'm saying? You can change your own oil. You can.
Yeah.
But do you want to be under your car for 30 minutes when the person is just, well, like with me, I just charge a flat rate of $80. And, you know, you go into the tax situation, you don't know what you're doing. You know, something happens, you're not getting the full refund amount. You want somebody to explain that to you. You know, all you trying to find out is, hey, did I mess up? Well, with me charging $80, I mean, darn, I mean, if you don't want to pay that, then, you know, like I said, you know, I'm not trying to gouge anybody, and I do realize that anybody can do their taxes, but what I bring to the table is at least that explanation of what's going on, and then what you could do in the future to get you the type of refund that you're looking for. And then on top of that, if you do owe, you know, the $80 ain't just like, hey, see you later. I'm going to help you make sure that you pay those people and you get it in on time. And then I'm open 24 hours, not 24 hours, excuse me, all throughout. Yeah, I'm open all throughout the year. So if you have any questions about your withholdings, or you get some extra income and you want to know what to do with that, that's sort of where I come into play. But to answer your question, you know, it's just really the confusion. It's if they owe, they don't understand why. And a lot of times people they want an explanation for all these things.
I got a Rob Russell on YouTube said, wondering if you're taking appointments and how to make one. Also, is there an additional charge to the $80 for correcting someone else's past mistakes?
All right. So, yeah, I'm taking appointments all throughout the United States. So if you're in any state, I definitely can do those tax returns.
Darcel, not to cut you off, can they go to digitaltax.org and set it up, or how does that work?
Yeah, you can go. Digitaltax.org will allow you to go ahead and upload your W-2 if you want to go that route. So once again, it's www.digitaltax.org, or they can text me or give me a call at 803-443-8373. They can get at me on Facebook. You can go to Darcel Walker. I'm out of Aiken, South Carolina. They can go there. I charge a flat rate of $80. It doesn't matter what state you're in. That's for federal in one state if you just have a W-2. If you're self-employed, the fee would be $95. And as far as amending, I guess what he's asking is about amending somebody's tax return, and that means making a change from your original tax return. You'll be looking at $95 for that. So like I said, I'm pretty transparent there with that. I don't charge by the form or anything else like that. The fee is either $80 if you're a W-2 employee. If you're self-employed, it'd be $95.
Do me a favor and give me a number. Can you say 803?
803-443-8373. And they can call or text that number. I do respond back. If I'm with somebody else, I will respond back to you.
Mandy is asking a question. She said, what about the page you're to file? Is that included? I'm not really sure what that means. Do you mean the form, Mandy? Like if there are different forms?
She says per page.
No, it's not per page or anything else. Like, it's a flat fee. I don't charge extra for, for itemizing or for having childcare or anything else like that. Nope. It's just a flat fee. Because you know how some, in certain cases, you have all these different forms that's associated with the individual, like for deductions or credits or this or that. So I think that's what she means for the different forms. No, I don't charge per form. It's just a standard flat rate fee. Good. Okay. So I have a question for you while we're on the subject of the different forms. So let's start with deductions and credits. And this is just in terms of, 2020, since that was the special year. We had a lot of people like myself who worked from home the entire time. Now, I'm not self-employed. I work for someone. So what are the deductions or credits that, for the average person who was used to going into the office but transitioned into working into their homes, what are things they should look out for? I should look out for. Okay, it's a personal question now. With that, meaning the IRS, took away a lot of that stuff. Well, in actuality, they took away a majority of that stuff. So what you're getting on is employee business related expenses, because right, you're staying at home, you may have a home office and you have utility expenses, you have rent and things like that. Yes. And those type of things in the past were deductible, right? On a Schedule A or itemizing, okay? But they've disallowed that. So unfortunately, to answer your question, unfortunately, that stuff is disallowed if you're a W-2 employee, okay? Okay. So some of the things that, since I know that stuff is taken away and I'm not closing the door on, hey, you have no hope. What I'm trying to do is I may ask questions like, one, that's something that's very important is, did you receive unemployment? Because a lot of people don't understand that may be taxable and they may not report it on their tax return. And then around July, August, they get a nasty bill because they didn't report it. So that's very important to note. The second thing is, did you go to college? Are you paying back student loans? Sometimes I find people forget about those things, or they don't wait until that document comes into play, right? Mm-hmm. Your HSA, that's another important thing that you have to touch on. Not so much that it's tax deductible, it's just because if you don't report it, the IRS may delay your tax return, or they may penalize you because you didn't file that form. those are some important issues that I sort of touch on before I complete the tax return. And another thing too is the marketplace. The marketplace is very important, and that gets a lot of people because they go and they get health insurance through the marketplace, not knowing that in some cases that may raise your taxes because you have to be almost spot on with how much income you're going to make for the year. And if you don't do that, well, then you may get hit with a nasty surprise too, as well. So those are some of the things that I check for. And then unfortunately, if you're not able to benefit from that and you don't like your return or you don't like the amount that you're going to have to pay, well, in some cases, it's as simple as, how do you want your money? Do you want it during the year or do you want it as a tax refund? It's as simple as that. And if you want most of your money during the year, well, then what I would do for you is I would do an estimate for you to let you know, hey, look, if you make this amount of money right here, by December 31st, you need to have this right here taken out of your check. This is your number. And if I give you a number and I say, hey, your number is $4,500, by December 31st, I'm taking all the guesswork out because you didn't told me this is how much I'm going to make for the year. And I'm telling you, based on this year's taxes, if your situation stays the same, by December 31st, you need to be at $4,500 to break even with the IRS. And if you're below that number, you're going to owe. If you're above that number, you're going to get a refund.
So essentially, what you're saying is we do have options as to how we claim exemptions during the year. So I would imagine that would involve me revisiting my W-4 with the company saying, hey, is it the W-4, the one that you fill out?
That's correct.
Okay.
W-4.
So you can adjust your exemptions. And it's so funny because you are bringing up so many memories from when me and Jermaine was at that class at Aiken Tech. I do not like doing the taxes. I rely very heavily on the software, but I'm also very much invested in my finances. So this is really good information. A lot of people don't know this. They don't know that if you make X amount, you can do your W-4 and claim exemptions so that you balance out. So instead of you waiting all year and the feds are taking that money and then you waiting in January and February for a refund, well, you can already have your money in your pocket, but be prepared not to have this lavish tax return.
Exactly, because you either getting it, if you don't have any dependents or anything else like that, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's that cut and dry. It's just, hey, do you want your money during the year or do you want a large refund? And it's up to you to determine what you need to do. And another thing that you brought up that I didn't touch on is the 401k. That's an easy way to give yourself a tax deduction. Okay. So for those of you who are not getting a tax deduction because you don't have any dependents or you can't take any prior expenses and you didn't go to school or anything else like that, and you do have a 401k, one, it's going to help with your retirement. Two, you may get a tax deduction. Three, that is very assuredly is that if you do put in money for it, that means less of your money is being taxed. Giving it to the IRS, you are saving for yourself. So if your company offers a 401k, and I find this with a lot of people, and I talk to them about it, if you take advantage of it, even if they saying, hey, we'll match 3% of your salary, that means that if you put in 3, they put in 3, you getting a free 3%. And you at least got to put in the minimum.
Yeah.
You at least got to put in the minimum. If they tell you, hey, we'll match up to 3%, the key words are up to 3%. That means that you at least got to put in 3%. For those of you that are not putting in anything, you're losing money.
Yes.
Losing it. Yeah. Losing it. So you holler about like taxes and everything else like that. That's a tax break right there for you. And I must admit, when I was in the corporate world, I couldn't have went out on my own And unfortunately, yes, I had to take from my 401k, but I couldn't have made this decision without putting that money away. And I must say that over a 13-year period, I put away almost $160,000 in my 401k.
Wow. What was the company matching what you were putting in? We don't have to get
They
into
were matching, they were only matching 3%, but I went above that. See what I'm saying? So I couldn't have started my own business. And just full disclaimer, whenever you take your money out and you're 59 and you're under 59 and a half, you will have to pay penalties on that. Okay. So just keep that in mind. But I was willing to risk that to invest in myself, and I'm glad I did it, because I couldn't have made it those first few years without pulling money out of that. But now I'm okay.
You just really dropped some knowledge, because I did not know that about the 401k. Because essentially what the name of the game when it comes to doing your taxes is, the lower that AGI is, the better you are as far as the tax amount that you have to pay the feds.
Lower your taxable income is.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The overall taxable income. The name of that game is to lower that.
That's correct.
And lowering it can be deductions, lowering it can be contributing to the 401k, contributing to the HSA, things that are not taxable.
That's correct. Now, just sort of want to, as a technicality, I don't want to confuse anybody, but whenever you put into your 401k, you are lessening your taxable income. Taxable income is different than taxes. Okay, so anything that lowers your taxable income, you're getting a percentage deduction on taxes. For example, if you put in $1,000 and you're in the 10% tax bracket, you've saved $100. Okay, but once your taxes figured, those are called credits. Credits increase your refund, or they reduce the amount you owe dollar for dollar. So $1,000 credit is a lot better than $1,000 deduction.
Right.
Okay. All right.
You got Mandy said she's expecting to pay a tax preparer $300 this year. And then she said, what about the incurred costs from working from utilities, internet, phones? How do you include these expenses?
Like working from home, and because when you work from home, when I was gone 8 hours of the day, I'm pretty sure my light bill was much different than it is now. I'm here all day. And so that when I go and look at the history of what I paid then and now, it's very different. I had to get a better internet connection, which means I'm paying more for my internet connection just to work at home. So why are these, it's COVID-19. Like now we're incurring, the cost of the overhead that the company used to incur. What is so funny?
Nah, you said, because you said COVID-19 to me, I'm like, flu season. But keep going. Go ahead. My bad. I ain't mean to say that.
I'm not saying all that.
That's why I got this.
I'm saying but it is a different culture and how we're working. I did notice I am spending in utilities and whatever. So I think that's what she's asking. What about those expenses?
And like I sort of touched on, Mandy, with your employer, unfortunately, those things are not tax deductible. And I didn't really touch on it too much, but with the IRS changing the laws, you're no longer allowed as an employee. This is employee. This has nothing to do with self-employed people. As an employee, you no longer can take those deductions. Okay. So any expenses that you have out of pocket from working from home, and they're requiring you to log into the internet, use your internet and things of that nature, right? Unfortunately, you really need to go back to your employer and ask them if they will reimburse you, because that's the only way that you can be made whole. That's it. If somebody tells you you get a new job and they just tell you, hey, you can deduct it on your taxes, no. That's not true anymore.
Right.
So the only way that you can be made whole is you have to go back to your employer and ask them if they will subsidize or if they will pay you a certain percentage on your utility bills and so forth.
One of our viewers has a question, and then I have a question. It's something that you said that just stood out to me. Robert Russell said, "What is AGI?"
That's adjusted gross income. That is figured after you take what they call above the line deductions. Things like if you put in money in an IRA, you probably heard that you could take a deduction for IRA if you contributed to a traditional IRA.
Yeah.
So let's just say you put in $4,000 in the traditional IRA, and your total income was $65,000. Well, what happens before you get to your AGI is you have what they call above the line deductions, and there's various deductions. I'm just going to use IRA right now as one. That $65,000, that would be your income. You would subtract $4,000 off of that, and your AGI would then be $61,000. That's what AGI is, and it's adjusted gross income.
Now, I noticed something that you said. You said that the IRS, they changed this, and you don't have these deductions anymore. When did that change? Was it recent? Was it during 45's administration, or was it before that? Was it during Obama?
45's administration. I want to say that's been in play for the last, don't quote me, I want to say either 2 or 3 years. I'm thinking 3 years, but if not 3, it was at least 2.
I only say that because I was like, I'm sitting there listening to you, and I'm saying, wait a minute. They took away the taxes to help the little guy, but the big wigs, they still get their shit. Because you still got companies like GE and stuff like that. They don't pay no taxes. But when it comes to the little guys having whatever deductions that could help them, we're the ones that get fucked.
That is correct. In this case right here, it was a straight up bend over the barrel. It was because not only that, but I have some New York filers too, and some New Jersey filers and California filers. Those states right there, they pay for those people that make I would say over $250,000, which isn't a whole lot of money considering that part of the United States. They pay a lot of state taxes and real estate taxes, and well, just state taxes in general. Even if they're working for somebody, they could alone pay like $20,000 in state withholdings. Well, the other thing that the prior administration did was they limited their state taxes to a total of $10,000. So a lot of my people that would be high earners from the South, from the South's consideration, but are probably like middle of the road up there up north, they lost a lot of money because their total state deductions, which was car taxes, their state withholdings, their real estate taxes, all those things added up together. If they were over $10,000, they were capped at $10,000. So
what I want to ask, whenever you get a chance, and this because myself and Jermaine, we had talk about politics and how it's a show and everything like that. But with what you just said, to have a breakdown of what the IRS is taking away from the little guy, that's what needs to be demanded back from this administration. But the crazy thing is, most people don't even know that it happened. So please, whenever you get a chance, let me know what those are, so I can start some shit on Facebook, letting people know that Okay, since y'all had a problem with 45, and now that he's gone, since you got your boy in office now, why don't you demand that these come back? Because to me, they ain't gonna do that shit. They're not gonna do it. I mean, unless it's really an uproar, but most people don't know. You know, because you're a professional. But the average person, they don't know.
I got you. I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, so just based on, just to piggyback off of Darcel, how do you feel about the current administration as far as, the difference in the two? The previous one and this one, as far as, of course, tax and tax laws are concerned. Because you remember the previous administration, they had their own thing for, it was like credits. Like a lot of people got credits in they noticed the credit in their paycheck. Do you think it'll be the same with this particular administration? Like how do you feel about it overall?
I'm trying, the way I feel about it is, I think they're trying to, with the stimulus thing, if it does pass, those payments look like they should be coming out in March. I think that would be helpful. I think that they're trying to do a better job of getting out the money for the small businesses. I like that part of it too, as well. The former administration, I must admit that even though they took those type of deductions away, I did somewhat see a benefit if you had children. Now, if you didn't have children and you got those benefits taken away, then you sort of got a double whammy there, because especially for those people in those states right there that paid a lot of state taxes, it did increase their taxes. Mm-hmm. From a tax perspective, I do think that they do need to continue to try to get the money out to the small businesses. And I think the targeted EIDL, I do think it'll help. I don't like particularly, though, that is somewhat confusing because you don't know if you're in an economic disadvantaged area. Many people don't know that. You don't even know where to go look.
I was going to ask earlier, like, how do you know whether or not if you fall in that type of area? Like, is there somewhere you check? Maybe it
was the census.
Or something? Oh, okay.
It's the census, but they don't provide that information on where to go. I had to do some digging to find that, and I don't think that that's right. And even if you're not in a poverty zone, you have small business owners that may be in an economically advantaged area, but they're not making a bunch of money. So I'm wondering if the administration is going to come back later, do the targeted advance, and try to reach the people who really need it in those poverty zones. And if there's money left over, that they get to these other areas. Because I'm a small business owner, and if I would have used the address at my location, I would have been left without. And I can tell you right now, I'm not rolling in the dough. Yeah. I'm not. So I think they should redo that, look at that. But as far as the food stamp program, I mean, look, you can feel whatever way you want to feel about food stamps and other programs and things like that. I can tell you, I see people hurting every day, and I'm pretty sure most people do, and most people don't want to live off food stamps. And on the same token, I guess I'm getting a little political here. On the same token, those who are rich, they more than likely they work for their money. And I don't believe in taxing them heavily either. I don't believe in giving it away. And I don't believe in, just because you're so-called rich that your income needs to be taxed to death either.
Right.
So anyway. Yeah. Yeah. And anyway, that's what I see is working, or what I perceive to be working. It would also be interesting too if they do increase the child tax credit to $3,000. I think that would help families out too as well.
I gotta wait a minute. I want to piggyback off something you said, because you're a numbers person. You just, so you don't agree with the way that it used to be back in the day, when the rich were taxed at 70%? Because back in those days, it seemed like things worked. Now, once that shit dropped, well, I think it wasn't that Reagan's administration when it happened, when it went from like 70% to about 30 or something like that.
Under the trickle down theory.
Yeah.
I think it's over. I think that was Bush Senior, maybe Bush Senior.
Nah, I started with Reagan.
Reagan.
Nah, the tax drop, whatever that. Because I forgot what year it was. It was, early 1900s, whatever it was. If you made a certain amount, you were taxed at like 70 or 80%. But it seemed like then things would get done. Now, once they dropped it and the businesses ain't got to pay whatever the fuck they got to pay, or, people ain't paying what their fair share per se. Because like somebody like a Warren Buffett clearly said, my secretary pays more taxes than me. He doesn't.
I find that to be true, because what he's talking about, and what the common folks don't have the means to do, and I'm common folk too. I'm not talking down to anybody. I don't want anybody to think I'm talking down to them. They're able to change their income from W-2 or salary income or self-employed income to now capital gain income. And capital gain income is taxed differently than W-2 and self-employed income. So what he's referring to is that, capital gains right now is taxed at a max of 20%. And W-2 income, it could be taxed as much as 39%. So what he's talking about, even if you have somebody who's single and may make 60, I'm throwing a number out there, so don't hold me to it. $65,000, $70,000, and they're a single person, they may pay 18%, in taxes, versus somebody who just has capital gain income. They may be taxed at 20% total, but they're making millions and millions of dollars or billions of dollars because they have the means to buy and sell property, buy and sell businesses, and things like that. So that's how they're making their money. So, it's all about changing the way that you're making your money, and how it's being taxed in at that point. And a lot of people don't understand that, So even though I said what I said, because I aspire to one day be wealthy, and I know where I came from, right? Mm-hmm. So I can see myself in that position, and then somebody, just because I make, $600,000, $700,000 net, they feel like I need to pay 30, 40% in taxes. No, I don't agree with that. I don't. But there has to be some. I'm a type of person that I believe in common ground. I do. I don't believe you can be all the way left and all the way right. Because you got to look at life. Look at your body. You need food to eat. If you have too much food, you're going to kill yourself. If you have too much water, you're going to kill yourself. If you have too much air, you're going to kill yourself. Those things are necessities.
Yeah.
You got to have those things in life.
And I think go ahead.
And whenever you're out of balance, things ain't right.
And that's what I was just about to say about balance. I mean, everything has to have a balance. And I think right now in this country, it's out of balance. I think the scales are tipped way too high for the 1%. And I don't know. I think the way we have been taught is to be employees. And like you said, the tax from what I've read, and I'm no tax expert. You're the tax expert, but from what I've read, the tax code is not written for employees. The tax code is written basically for entrepreneurs. for business owners, for corporations. Am I wrong in saying it? Am I a little off with that?
Well, the way I see it is the everyday person doesn't have time to be wrapped up in taxes. Hell, we just trying to survive every day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we ain't got time for that. So therefore, you leave that to the people who have the means and the power and the money to make these changes. And, you know, I've read somewhere and I've heard things before, but the reality of the situation is you may tax the rich one time, you may get them two times. But the way that America is right now, they're going to change that where they ain't going to pay no more taxes because they're going to get the laws written to a different perspective. Now, do I think that's right? No, I don't think it's right because I think we are all human at the end of the day. And just like you aspire to do well and live comfortably, I want to do the same too as well. I don't know if this is the correct form to answer this, but in my opinion, like you said, Jermaine, I don't think things will change because this is just the way it is right now. Is it right? No, I don't think so. I don't think you should be able to buy your way out of, you know, paying taxes. And on the other end of it, and hell, we may be able to identify with this. And this is my theory. This is what I think. I can recognize people who are on the poverty level. I can understand people who are just using the system to get by. I can understand that because hell, that's closer to me. I don't understand nothing about being rich.
Right.
I don't know nothing about that. I don't.
Well, wealthy.
So when people talk about the fraud, waste, and abuse, the majority of people can understand those people who are like them or who may be economically disadvantaged. They can understand that because that's stuff that I see, you know. Yeah. But I don't know nothing about writing tax laws, lobbying, and all that. I don't know nothing about that. But just because I don't know nothing about it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right.
And I can see things, and I know that it isn't right. Just like the people who are taking advantage of welfare, that isn't right. But it's the people who are caught in the middle who is paying both sides.
Right.
So, like I said, you know, I'm not bashing anybody. All I know is I would like to live comfortably. That's just me. I don't want to be extremely wealthy. I just want to be able to, at the end of the day, if I want to go on a trip, I want to be able to save for a month and go on that trip and be able to come back and pay my bills.
Right.
Now I'm pretty sure that you know about this, but I don't know if you can see the screen. But it says following World War II, tax increases. Top marginal individual tax rate stayed near or above 90%, and the effective tax rate at 70% for the highest incomes. Few paid the top rate until 1964, when the top marginal rate was lowered to 70. Now, I'm bringing that up because, like I said, it seems as if when that was happening, I'm not saying it wasn't no greedy motherfuckers out there. I would never say that. But it just seems as if more got done in the country because the taxes, it was there, and the people like us wasn't bitching about our taxes because technically everybody was paying their fair share. And it didn't seem like they had a problem with it. But then once that year came, the shit changed.
Well, you got to remember, you had the onset of the industrial age going out, and then we started building more. It started being more corporatized. So now you had all these lobby groups coming in, these corporations and stuff like that. They started leaning toward, you know, the corporations versus that. Right. I think that's when a lot of stuff started changing, and then that's when the greed started coming out of all these people that are in power because they were like, oh, I see a way where I can, you know, get some money here, funnel some money here.
Exactly. Finding loopholes, essentially. Just like, you know, like if you notice during that time, people started sending work to other countries because you're not going to be taxed on that. So they started finding ways and holes.
I mean, it's a reason why a lot of congressmen and senators are lawyers. There's a reason why they're lawyers, because they know all the lingo, and they, you know, help architect a lot of this stuff. So I mean,
that's sort of what I was saying, in that when you talk about the rich and the wealthy, you may get them 1 year, you may get them the second year, but after that, they're gonna find those loopholes, and they're gonna find little things that the average person cannot do.
yeah,
You know, the middle class person cannot do.
yeah,
You know, I mean, in my tax office, I see a lot of folks that come in. You know, you may have 2 wage income people. The average American makes about, I would say probably about $50,000, $40,000.
$40,000. That's the average.
You know, as a married couple. You know, and then you got people who are not married, who have children. They might be at 25, 20.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I said, when do they have time to be focused in on voting and in politics, and they're just trying to survive every day, you know?
Yeah. But not to get off on a tangent, but those same people, you know, they tend to find ways to have money for you know, to try to live like the Joneses, so to speak. You know, those same people barely scraping it by. Well, when you see them out in the street, boy, they got Jordans and everything, because, you know, we enjoy having the aesthetics of looking successful instead of, you know,
Actually being that.
actually being successful. And that's what has been told to us, because we've been painted a picture of what success was supposed to look like. And if you didn't create that picture, then you got to stop going by that shit. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and as usual, I push the whole. I know what you're saying, Darcel, when you say that a lot of people may not have time for that. They're just trying to keep their head above water and whatever. But at the end of the day, when do you stop to educate yourself on your own finances? I feel like this entire conversation that we're having is very important. I mean, at least, you know, whatever is specific to your living situation, find some time to read up on something. Get yourself a book, you know, talk to somebody like you, even if you don't want to go out and do it yourself. I'm happy we're doing this with you, because you're making yourself readily available to have a conversation with people who are those, you know, just don't have time to do it. And then you're putting it out there in layman terms. So I say educate yourself with it.
Great conversation. Great conversation.
To piggyback off of what Jay just said, Jermaine knows me pretty well. Anybody who knows me knows that Jerome Alfuquan Fitz is organized chaos. Period. I just go with the flow, and it is what it is. Last week, I sat down and literally wrote down all of my expenses for the month. So I know exactly what everything is for the month, and I figured out what I need to do and how to budget, and I just decided to do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it, and you'll be surprised at what you'll be able to do once you do that, because then you can look at, wait a minute, oh shit, I'm not making enough. I got to find something to cover this expense. Right. But then once you do that, talk to a professional. Talk to somebody like a Darcel who knows about taxes and things like that. Talk to someone who does have multiple businesses and multiple streams of income, because you're going to have to figure out something. I think the statistic is what? If a person makes an extra $300 a month, it could save them from foreclosure. People don't understand that either. Little bit of money, shit. Go sell some damn fish plates. Do something. Or you know what? Do you really need to order that name brand, whatever, or the place an order on Amazon? Can you budget your money? Yeah. You know, I've done that before too, for where I just sit and I write out everything that includes rent, utilities, bills. And then I said, okay, I'm going to say, I want to save X amount of money for this trip I got coming up, or, you know, this kid's birthday, I want to send a gift, whatever. And then I'm going to live by that budget. Now, I can't say I do it every single month, but.
And you have to, and I've heard somebody say this before, if you can't buy it more than once, then you don't need it.
Right. Yep.
Well, one of the things that sort of helped me before I made my life change was I had always had this feeling that I wasn't going to be in that corporate world. It just didn't feel right to me, you know. And every day I looked in the mirror and I was like, why am I here? And, you know, this is crazy. You know, why am I here? But what I did is like what Fu was talking about is that I did set a budget. Now, it took me 5 years. Once again, these are just one of the things that it was just something just telling me, man, you need to make a change. You need to make a change.
Right.
And the company sort of pushed me in that direction to finally make that change. But I had already been doing things to put myself in a better position. And one of the things that I did was I did set that budget, and I did start setting financial goals and saying, hey, look, you know, if things go south, if I got to get out there and this company tells me they don't want me here anymore, I want to keep everything I got. And I know I can hustle. I know I can bring in at least $2,500 a month. I know I can. And I'm talking about pushing lawnmower. I'm talking about washing cars. I'm talking about, you know, of course I was doing taxes, but whatever I had to do in order to make that $2,500, because I figured that's what I needed to survive on the basic. If I can bring that in, I'm going to be good. But when I was looking at my debt to income ratio, you know, I was living a $4,000, $5,000 life. So what I had to do is I had to start paying down debt. And it just so happened that when all this stuff went down, I got my debt down to where I was looking at my debt and I was looking at, okay, well, I know I'll need X amount of dollars per year to live off of. And once I got the debt under control, you know, this was a rationalized thought process that I had. And I said, I'm going to give myself 5 years to do this. And if I can't do it in 5 years, then I'll go back out in the workforce. But once I got the taste of it, I said, no, I'm never going to do it. I don't care if I got to darn cut lawns or if this tax thing don't work. Yeah, I don't care. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to, you know, legitimately, I'm going to do what I got to do in order to make sure I don't have to go back to work for anybody. Now, that's just me. And I'm not telling anybody to quit their job or anything else like that. But what I am telling you is you could do a lot once you get your debt under control. You can. You can. It takes time and it takes patience and it takes planning. But you can do a lot.
I think we got time for one more question because Darcel he has to go in a minute. Mandy says, how would a group investment look in terms of group investment in property?
Well, that's something that JB and I are involved in. We are in an investment group and we're investing in real estate. And that's something that I do on the side too as well. That was another thing that sort of allowed me to do what I need to do because I own rental properties too as well. And I recently just sold a house that was an investment that I bought. I recently just sold that a couple of weeks ago. So I do think that if you can strike up the right accord with some partners, I do believe in real estate. I do believe in, you know, if you're not trying to flip, which, you know, that's a bigger step than what I'm trying to do. You got to find that secondary source of income coming in, as Fu was talking about. And that's something that I got involved in. And that's something that I would highly suggest. I know here in Aiken, where I'm at, Aiken, South Carolina, you know, I started off with the tax sales. And I must admit, every year that I go, this current place, and you can't see it, but this current place that I'm in, right now I bought this house for $3,000. And now I had to put in a lot of work for it. I did. But I bought this house during the tax sale for $3,000. It's in downtown Aiken. And I had a realtor come by a week ago, matter of fact. She told me this house is appraised at like $160,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you say tax sale, do you literally mean something happened to the property and you bought it because they could taxes or something? It went back to the county?
Yeah, it went back to the county. It's a bidding process. You're in there with a bunch of other people. And like I said, I mean, JV would tell you, I told him, you go to the tax sale at least with $3,000, $4,000, you can come away with something. Now, if they pay the taxes, you at least get some interest off of it. Yeah. But if they don't, then the property goes to you, and that's what we're involved in right now. We're working on a property right now. So I do believe in, if you can find a good group of people that you sort of mesh with, and you guys can combine your funding, real estate is definitely the way to go. I've had 2 recent real estate experiences, and they've gone pretty well. I would have never dreamed, that this property would have went up so much. And I can tell you right now, it's going to be a big gain for me. It will, if I decide to sell it, but I'm not going to sell it. If it goes up to 300,000, yeah, maybe. But but 160, it's definitely appealing. The other property I bought, and I bought that property. It was a total risk. I was leaving from my employer. I knew my credit. Another thing too, your credit. Protect your credit. Don't let your credit go bad. Not doing the right thing with your credit, it gets a lot of the folks I talk to. A lot of these folks that I talk to happen to look like me, but we just don't think much of our credit. But that's another thing that helped me out too, is just having good credit. And I knew when I left that employer, I knew I wasn't going to make the same amount of money that I'm making. So what I did is I bought this house as an investment idea. And within 3 years, I finally sold it, but I had somebody in it renting it. So they were paying me at least to cover the mortgage and everything. And then they finally went ahead and they bought the house. So protect your credit. Yes, I do agree with getting in real estate. Mandy, if you'd like to give me a call, you can do so. We can talk further. 803-443-8373. 803-443-8373. You can contact me at info at digitaltax.org. You can reach me there too as well. That's my email address. I'm just basically anything I can do to help out with somebody or tell them things that I've done that have worked for me. Hell, I'm not trying to say it's scientific or anything else like that, but if I can help you, I will. I'm not looking for any money or anything else like that. So, I'm just willing to help.
Well, we appreciate, man. We appreciate you, carving out some time. I know you're busy right now. It's tax season. I know you're rolling. So we do appreciate you coming in, dropping some knowledge and giving some tips and answering some questions, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
It was enlightening.
All right. Thank y'all for your time. I enjoyed it.
All right, man.
All right. Everybody be safe out there.
You too, bro.
Good night.
We had a very, very informative show. We definitely appreciate him coming on. I'm still fucked up that he spent $3,000 for that house. Like he almost had me fall out this chair,
bro.
Because I haven't been to a tax sale yet here in Douglasville, and I'm kicking myself in the ass for obvious reasons. And I'm thinking about it right now. Like I should have did that,
bro.
over the summer.
When I tell you that house he spent $3,000, the house that he's in now. Mm-hmm. The work he had, he put some work in that house because it was a total regut. Mm-hmm. But it's worth it. It's worth it because a lot of
people don't even know stuff like that. Like how properties will go on sale like that.
I mean, when he told me how much it got appraised for the other day, I was like, "What?" I couldn't believe it. But I know the work he put in. So, man, that's great investment. Great investment. Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, another great show. I think that this was really good, and if they do extend the deadline for the tax day, maybe at some point we should consider bringing them back to answer some more questions. You know?
For sure. Hey, I did want to touch on something on a current event before we get off. Man, I had so many current events. There's been so much going on, not in the mainstream media that's going on, but
Yeah.
I read this article about, and I don't know, maybe y'all heard about what happened in Portland, Oregon. I think it was like on the 17th of February. So I guess they got this place called Fred Meyer. I guess it's a packing place or a food store or whatever. And so the food was about to expire. So the employees were throwing the food away in the dump. So I guess people were coming by getting the food. You know, I think it might have been some activists or whatever, you know, getting food to, you know, to give to people who need food or whatever. And the owner of the store called the police. So 12 police officers stood guard so nobody would get the food.
Out of
that they were throwing in the garbage.
That they were throwing in the garbage. So they actually stood guard so this food can expire instead of letting people who need the food get it. And I read that and I was like, this is a great summary of what America has turned into right now. We just don't give a crap about people.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, first of all, that's risky with them getting it out of the garbage. Let's start there.
Well, I mean, if it's packaged, I mean, and you're hungry, I mean, I don't think homeless people give a crap about stuff in the damn garbage. I mean, if you're hungry, you're going to get it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's crazy to have somebody guarding it. I just think about stuff like how, you know, if they got police there, like what was the reason to call the cops to guard a garbage can?
So 12 officers for like 5 or 6 people that were trying to get food.
Once again, we know what cops are there to protect property. It never they ain't there to protect people. They're there to protect property. Never change.
Are you sure that this food wasn't like outdated or tainted? Like could
it was about to be. So let me go revisit this article again and said.
And I'm only asking because I remember when I was working in food service, like what we would do was take leftover food from the restaurant to the nearest shelter and give it to them. But even that's regulated because if it's like out of date or whatever, they could be held accountable if, you know, somebody gets some type of food poisoning or, you know, whatever. So
this is what it says. It says workers at the Hollywood West Fred Meyer's threw away thousands of perishable items because the store, like many others, had lost power in an outage due to the region's winter storm.
Oh, okay.
So it was perishable items or whatever, but you know they had lost power, so they were about to be expired. They couldn't put them back on the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
So I see stuff like that. And it really pisses me off because you see these freaking oligarchs in the fucking damn government arguing about who should get this and who should get that when you got people, you know, hungry, you know, and then you got people calling the police to keep them from getting the damn food. I mean,
yeah, that's a bit much.
We got food lines everywhere in this damn country. People ain't got health care. I mean,
y'all heard the story. Go ahead, Jay.
No, I was just gonna say that it's sad that it's come to that, but I'm just like, what's the reason for the cop? It's crazy. That's what your tax dollars are paying for these cops to protect a dumpster.
And as a police officer, if I'm a real police officer, I'm like, man, I'm not going to do that. Something in your moral fiber should say, man, I'm not doing that. Like I got other stuff.
I'm going to this Starbucks and get me a coffee and do something else.
Yeah. Why are we going to do that? I mean, I'm pretty sure some robberies or something going on. Now we sitting here standing post at a dumpster.
Some real crime.
Right.
And to play on what he said, everybody, when you get a chance, watch a movie called The Platform.
Ah, yes.
Watch a movie called The Platform based on the story that he just said in Portland. Watch that movie and you'll be like, oh shit. You will honestly and truly be surprised. But we thank y'all. We thank y'all for tuning in. We hope you got something from the show. Next week, I want to give y'all the heads up. We have a gentleman coming on by the name of Sonny, who's an investor, but he's part of the Black Tuesday gang. You can go look him up on IG. And it was a big thing about a stock. Y'all know what happened with GameStop and AMC about a month ago now?
Yeah.
They did the same thing with a stock called Sundial. And you got a lot of people now getting into the stock market because they figure it's another stream of income. So he has 10 years of experience with investing. You don't want to miss next week's show. Get your questions ready and be prepared because it's going to be a very, very informative show, just like this one was. Because we got to talk about finances. We have to make sure that we constantly talk about finances because that's the country that we live. Excuse me. This is the corporation that we live in. So since it's the corporation that we live in, we have to make sure that we play the game and we have to understand the game and we're not left out. So thanks a lot, Rob. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, homeboy. So I definitely appreciate you jumping on. I know Main One and Lady J over there appreciate it. Yo, y'all keeping us going.
Of course.
We're not gonna stop with the guests. We got a nice one coming up. We ain't gonna tell you yet. We got a good one. We got a good one.
Woo. It's so funny the way the three of us are like smiling right now, like, oh boy.
It's only gonna get better. But once again, there is no us without you. And we humbly thank you for the support. And we ask you, if you are subscribing to us on YouTube right now, get 10 of your friends to do the same thing. Please ask them to like the videos, ask them to share the videos, subscribe, all of that, because we can't grow if they don't see the growth. We can't. And that's what we want. We want to make sure that we putting this content out consistently until they come after our ass for the guests that we're going to have on this show, because we don't give a damn. And it's coming. We know it's coming. We already know it's coming. It's a particular doctor that Jermaine wants on, and we're going to make it happen. We're gonna do what we got to do. And if y'all have any suggestions for guests, I'm not going to say it's going to be a guarantee. I'm not going to do that. But suggest some people that you think will be a great guest. Somebody that we're looking for therapists.
Yes.
Marriage counselors, things like that, because we want to make sure that we touch on that also. So, y'all, if y'all got anything y'all want to end with, go ahead.
I'm all set. It was a great show. We appreciate Darcel Walker again. I hope, that deadline is extended, because I know it could help out a lot of people out there, especially with all the different disasters that's going on. So yeah, I appreciate Darcel coming on. This is a really good show. I'm looking forward to the upcoming shows. It's going to get really interesting.
Absolutely.
Thank y'all for watching.
Hey, thank y'all for watching.
Good night, everybody.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you.